Okay, so I owed you this. I've been gone for a very long time, um, and I am really really sorry. I have good excuses though. Some good things happen, which can be an excuse, and some bad things happen, which can definitely be an excuse. Um, but I am gonna try to be back for a while, despite some pretty large changes that are going on in my life. But I guess I owe you guys some answers, don't I? Because that's where I left off, and I guess that's where I'll start back up again. Uh, I think I suppose I'm a Democrat. Considering I mean I vote Democrat at least. And I vote Democrat, even if I have some ideas that are not necessarily Democratic, I'm going to vote Democrat anyway because it's either that or Republican in terms of making a difference when I vote. I didn't get like beat up or anything like that. It was actually just an accident, and I made a joke about it. You should have seen the other guy because um, I fell. We took like a speedboat, and this boat was towing a raft, and I was hanging onto it with this like 250-pound Marine. We were both like hanging onto this raft, and the people in the boat were trying to sort of like throw us off the boat, and it was fun, until we sort of crashed into the water, and I hit the water at like 30, 40 miles an hour, and this guy ended up plowing on top of my face, and his foot hit my eye, and that's how I got the black eye. So should have seen the other guy because his ankle was pretty damn bruised. I did some damage. This eye right here did some serious freaking damage. Just want to let you know. No, no, they're not religious. I guess, at times they might consider themselves spiritual. They were, they're Zen Buddhists, and I use that term loosely because they don't, meditate every day or anything like that. But they do subscribe heavily to the philosophies and the ideas of Zen Buddhism, and I do to some extent. I do have some disagreements with my parents. Um, it's cool because I didn't really know that what their sort of philosophies or their views were until I was, um, a little older. They sort of like let me make some decisions on my own before kind of talking to me about what their thoughts and philosophies were. Um, I constantly get into like a thing with my mom. She uses the word God. And when she says God with a capital G, she means like the way of the universe and the interconnectedness of all things. And I think that's a misuse of the word, and I think it's borrowing from an already existing idea, and I think it confuses people. And but there are some ideas in that religion that I do subscribe to. Uh, well, I've always been an atheist because I was born an atheist. I mean, I was born atheistic, meaning not theistic, because babies don't believe in God. But uh, there were times where I sort of like started to try on certain religions. When I was a kid, I was growing up in school, and I lived in a very predominantly Christian community. Everybody around me, everybody I knew was Christian, and a lot of my friends were like, "How come you're not a Christian?" And I would go, "Oh, I just don't believe in it. I don't know." And they would sort of say, "How do you know? Why don't you read the Bible?" And we're like little kids, and these other kids are like telling me to read the Bible, and so I would try to. I went, to church for like a year straight. I went to church, and I went to like youth groups, and I read the Bible. But as soon as I started opening the book, I started realizing that I knew I didn't believe in it. So I don't think I ever was uh, a member of any particular religion. No. Yeah, yeah. I've done marijuana and mushrooms. I tried mushrooms on a camping trip, which was very fun. But that's it. Those are the only two that I've ever really tried. I don't think I am too interested in doing much of anything else. I think I've had my fun. I'm good. I'm good. Check. I don't. I'm really not politically savvy. So this is going to be a stupid question for me to even attempt to answer, because I'm sure so many people out there could do so much better with this than me. But off the top of my head, there are a few things like that I would personally love to change. I would go after the fucking FDA. I can't stand the FDA. Like they've got a copyright on the word cure, and they just it bothers me. They pay researchers and they pay scientists to make stupid things like create diseases so that they can create a drug for that disease, so that they can sell the drugs, and then they can make more money, and then they can blame this on a chemical imbalance or blame that on, things like that really bother me. I know that there's been vaccines for HIV, treatments for cancer and things like that, which the FDA will not release, will not approve of. The government is backing them because they're paying huge amounts of money to the government, and we'll never know, because there's such a profit to be made off of the drugs and the pills and all the stuff that you have to buy and spend money on every year when you have HIV or when you have cancer. So that's one thing that I think in that respect we are an incredibly immoral country. We don't so much care about the health and happiness of everybody. We care about making money at the expense of the deaths of millions of people. So, America, we've got some things that we could maybe clean up. I don't have one. I I I dropped out of high school when I was like 15 or 16. And I went back later. I went and I got my diploma, or I got my degree or whatever. But yeah, I knew I wasn't going to do anything really academic with my life, and so I dropped out. And I pursued acting and music, and that's kind of what I do now. So I got lucky, I mean, I dropped out of high school and I made it, and I'm able to support myself and so on. But I'm not really educated. I never went to college. My girlfriend goes to college, and I always learn so much from her. She comes home and she's great because she always tells me, all the kinds of things that she learns about brain chemistry and politics and math, and so I get a sort of secondhand serving of college education. But no, I have no educational background other than reading and being curious. I'm pretty sure that compatibilism is just the view that free will and determinism are not incompatible, they are compatible. You can possess free will and still the universe can be deterministic. I think determinism is a funny thing because you kind of get caught up in a trap. Like if there were, the fact is, or at least I would argue that there is no conscious sort of narrative observer, godlike, that omniscient thing that sees and understands all. But I think if there were, that consciousness would easily observe that that everything, every event, every action, every occurrence happens because of a chain of infinite causal cause and effect relationships. I think if you have A, B, and C, it's impossible not to get D next, and from that, it's impossible not to get E next, and so on and so forth. Yeah. For example, if I were to take my own life, and in a controlled environment, I were to start my exact life over 100%, having exactly the same experience, all the way up until now, not one single thing changing, I think it would. And somebody said, "Do something random, Scott," to me right now, and I went, blah, blah, blah. I think if I were to relive my entire life with exactly the same experiences that I've had, the random thing I would do would probably be blah, 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 again. And in that sense, I guess I'm deterministic. But I don't think that negates the idea of me still being having a conscious power over my choices and being able to decide what I want to decide, and so on and so forth.